Go! Go, Pack, go! Can you feel it, man? The NFL playoffs are in full swing! And it's AFC NFC Championship Sunday in just 24 hours, where my Green Bay Packers are taking on Tom Brady and those pesky Buccaneers. In fact, the last time we took on the Bucs, we got our asses handed to us. We took a beatdown. We took an RKO, a stunner, and the tombstone pile driver. And we got pinned 1, 2, 3, but we didn't get knocked out. And now we're back when it counts the most. The playoffs, the championship game, where the winner of tomorrow's matchup goes to the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me, bro? Drastic times call for drastic measures, and your boy BC had to break out the good old cheesehead. This ain't Cheesehead Charlie. Nah, it's your boy BC up in this bitch, and we rocking the cheesehead. In fact, you guys know I love my Oakleys. Check out what I copped, man, and I love my Oakleys so much. I got my collector's New York Yankee Oakleys over here. Check that Yankee blue mixed in with the white. Over on the far left over here, maybe you're right, but there's a Yankee logo. You can hardly see it. It's like part of the polarized glasses, man. But it's badass, man. You got the official Yankee logo. So these are my Yankees. Check this out. We'll get to SmackDown in a second. Don't you worry. This is pretty big in the world, man. It is a huge moment in all of the world where the Packers are about to go to another Super Bowl. We're one win away, man. Check this out. The official Oakley case. You open this bad boy up. Boom. Official NFL Oakley Green Bay Packer. Packer Oakleys, baby. Prisms. You got the Packer green going into the Packer yellow, that badass pitch black. And just like the Yankees, in the far left, you have a little Packers logo. You can barely see it. It's printed on the polarized portion. Boom, baby. Says Packers, not just the G. Literally says Packers right here. These bad boys, what are we doing? Sport them. Ow! Look at those bitches, baby. Now we're rocking. Now we are on cloud 9. Now we can do this review. We're talking the tribal chief. Even the chief has a bad day. Even the chief falls down. Even the chief gets his ass whooped every now and again. And that's what happened last night to Roman Reigns. We're going to talk about it. The Bianca Belair Bayley Obstacle Course Challenge. When it was all said and done, there ain't no disbelief now when it comes to Bianca. She is the EST for a reason. And Sasha Banks takes on an actual, legit stealth ninja. Not Tozawa, but a Reginald. Oh, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about it now. Go, Pack, go! Before we start this review, I want to touch up on this Undertaker situation. It's got the wrestling world talking, and I know you guys are clamoring to hear BC's thoughts on this. So I'm going to speak about this now. It may not be the last time I speak on it if Undertaker decides to take this farther or if more wrestlers decide to get butthurt. But it's Undertaker going on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Undertaker was just talking about what a lot of us kind of feel, right? That the locker room is definitely softer these days. Now, in many ways, that's a good thing. In other ways, for a lot of individuals, it's not their cup of coffee. They'd rather it full of a bunch of alpha males. Whether you guys like it or not, the world still has alpha males out there. People that want to try to one-up their buddies, not just their enemies. They want to one-up. They want to beat them. And then shake hands afterwards, have a cold drink or a hot coffee after they just went to war with one another. They want to outclass one another in every which way. They're alphas. They want to get together, have a cold drink or a hot coffee and talk about hot girls. We're still around. You can't just ostracize, you can't just put us into obscurity just because the world is moving on to a softer side. And again, in many ways, that's a good thing. But in many other ways, a lot of people miss the old school vibes, the old school ways. When you walked into the room and there was a bunch of alphas. Those days are gone. And the Undertaker went on this podcast and he was just talking about how he misses when he would go into the locker room and men were his version of men. And now when he walks into the locker room, this is what the Undertaker said. Now he says you got guys all just so laid back. They're playing video games and they're all basically shooting the shit like a bunch of schoolgirls. But Undertaker would rather the opposite. He remembers it when it was much more harder than that. And they weren't bringing in video game consoles. They were bringing in other things we won't get into. So Xavier Woods kind of took exception to that. And Xavier Woods talked about how a lot of legends helped him get to where he is today. So much respect. But he says he'd rather be playing or having video games backstage than having, let's just say, weapons. Because Undertaker touched up on how back in the day, wrestlers were bringing weapons backstage, man, to the locker room. And Xavier's like, okay, well, you can call this softer, but we're playing video games. We ain't throwing fucking knives at one another. So Xavier kind of took a dig, and other wrestlers too kind of stepped up. Sasha Banks, for instance, somebody told me this. Sasha Banks retweeted Xavier's statements. So, you know, Sasha Banks is on board with that. AEW star Trent. This obviously must have been joking, but he said Undertaker should be put in jail. I think that's a little extreme, and Trent needs to know his role. But you could tell that it pissed off a lot of individuals. So it was a big talking point in the world. Now, on one hand, I mean, you'd rather have people playing video games and relaxed in a much better mental state, right? Back in the day, wrestlers were out of their minds. And that's a big reason why a lot of wrestlers weren't able to reach the age of 50. A lot of them didn't reach the age of 45, 40, some 35, 30. So the environment has changed for the better in that aspect, right? I mean, you don't see a lot of people when they're fighting backstage passing away from a Sega Genesis to their head, right? Or is Sega Genesis even relevant anymore? What are you guys up to? PlayStation? Is that the big thing? PlayStation 76? Is that what we're up to? Like the iPhone 29? Or Xbox? What are we up to now? Xbox Amplified? Actually, that would be pretty cool. Xbox Amplified. Then I would get back into video games. I stopped playing video games when I was fucking 10 years old. Every now and again, I keep coming back. I always played that, the Raw versus SmackDown. I could be the general manager, and I would always pit Raw versus SmackDown. So I was always like general manager of Raw, and I would always try to win the ratings. I forgot what game that was. Maybe 2007, 8? Maybe it was 2002, 3. I have no fucking idea. But I used to play that. And then when I always played as a wrestler, I have a losing streak. I think I'm like 0-54 or something. I don't know. I have a horrible losing streak. I've never won a wrestling match as a wrestler. But anyway, video games was never my thing anyway. But you look at what happened to guys like Bruiser Brody in the locker room. And that's tragic. That should never happen. That's unacceptable. And you don't hear guys passing away from Sega Genesis or PlayStation 74s or Xbox Amplifieds to the head. Or, oh man, he passed away. He took a Sega Genesis to the shoulder. No! Video games aren't hurting anybody. But I understand what Undertaker is talking about, man. He remembers when he went back there and everybody was just, and you were really into your match and going over meant something. And you were doing jobs if it was going to benefit everybody involved, but you made sure that you were not going to fall down the ladder ring. Nowadays, people do jobs so easily. Vince tells you you're doing this, and everybody's 50-50 booked, and everybody is okay with it because they know they get to go backstage and play their video games. Or they all get to shoot the shit like a bunch of fucking schoolgirls. Well, Undertaker misses the days where you got together, you went over your match for a while, A. B, you talked about who was going over, and you fought over that shit. During those talks, You were talking about all the hot girls you were going to smash that night. Or the barroom brawl you just got in the night before. You know, alpha dudes, we talk about shit like that, and that, it just makes us feel good, man. Like, that, it's who we are. It's in our DNA. It's alpha status. So, what I ask is that people that are jumping on Undertaker's jumping on him today, yesterday, and going forward, realize that not everybody thinks the way you do. Yes, there are benefits, and the world is progressing in a better way in a lot of ways. But for the old school dudes, you can't ask them to not be themselves. It's in their DNA. And going forward, I don't know how much the world changes the younger generations, but maybe the alpha man, the alpha male, will never truly pass on. Maybe they will always be rocking. And that's a good thing, man. It's a competitive spirit. It's animalistic. It's good for the soul when you're amplified like this 24/7. You know, I think of dudes like The Warrior, and I think of The Undertaker, and I think of Steve Austin, and even Bill Goldberg, and even Brock. You know, those are dudes that I can look up to, you know? If you look up to dudes like Xavier Woods, or Trent, that's awesome. That's for you. I would never knock you on that. But those aren't guys, dudes, that if I was younger, I could look up to. I need to look up to the men, the alphas, because that's just, it's a reflection of not just who I feel I am, but what I want to be. You know, some of us are just, there's no way to make this sound better, you know, not to sound better than anyone, but some of us are just legit amplified 24/7. We're just badass. When we're ordering coffee, we're on high alert. We're ready to rock. It's just in our DNA. You know, you're either born badass or you're not. You can't learn to be. You can learn how to fight better. You can learn to change your attitude a little more, but you're born with that it factor. You're born with a different set of badassery. You're born alpha or you're just not. You're born amplified or you're just not. And in both ways are okay. Respect everybody. You should be jumping on The Undertaker because he misses how it was back in the day. He didn't name any single person out. He's saying he's going backstage and everybody's playing video games. And it's just he misses when everybody was just talking around the table, talking about the girls and the barroom brawls and who's actually going to go over later. And maybe even tussling a little bit and shaking hands after you fight. He misses that shit. I feel him because I would be in that same boat, dude. I don't do video games. I talk about girls and I talk about the barroom brawls that I've been in. And I would be talking about who's going over and why I don't want to go over against this motherfucker because it's going to hurt me in the long run. And that's going to 50-50 book me. And I'd be knocking on Vince's door pissed off. You know, I'd be that guy. So I understand what The Undertaker is saying. Everybody's coming down on this dude. Respect him. Just like if he was to singly call somebody out, I would be like, dude, that's not, you know, let him be him. I don't agree with the video game culture in the locker room because what it's doing is it's making wrestlers not give a fuck even more. Like, they literally don't care. I mean, they're having more fun on their fucking YouTube channels and shit, or their fucking podcast, or, I mean, they're doing what PC Amplified's doing, right? But before it used to be on B, you're just a YouTuber, BC. Shut up, man. You're just a YouTuber playing Monday morning quarterback. And now it's like, oh shit, man. Now everybody's doing what BC's been doing for a few years. Because they don't care about what's happening in the ring. They don't want to fight with Vince McMahon and try to make him see the light. No, nobody wants to do that. They're going to take all the L's, take the 50-50 booking, and go play their video games. You know? I don't know, man. It's I understand both sides. You know, the culture is a lot less volatile now, and that's awesome. And the mental state of these wrestlers, by not having to worry about who you're about to fight next in the locker room, is probably much better as well. But there's a lot of negatives too. And I don't know if we can find that common ground. I don't know if the old school alpha, I think that's gone now in pro wrestling and in the world. The world has changed to the point where being a man like that is looked down on and frowned upon now. And It's almost like being a man, like an old school man. It's a crime. So, I don't know, man. The Undertaker, one of the most, if not the most respected dude in this business, is having fans call him names and young wrestlers call him out because he said when he walks in the back and sees people playing video games, he just misses the old school vibe. And he calls this generation of wrestlers softer. He's right. If this isn't soft, then what is? Again, that doesn't have to be horrible. It doesn't have to be a huge negative, but there are negatives. But you can't lie and say this isn't a softer generation. I don't know what you think Xavier Woods would do against Bruiser Brody back in the day. But I don't know, man. You know, you have that changing of the guard where the younger guys are now going to look at the older guys. The older guys are looking at the younger guys, and there's a disconnect, man. And the way you have to do it is what I always ask you guys to do. Always just show one another respect. The younger guys have to feel where the older dudes are coming from and look at it from their point of view and go, yeah, this is kind of fucking funny. I mean, they're over there going to fucking war. You see what happened to Bruiser Brody, and we're over here playing fucking Mario Brothers, Mario Kart, Mortal Kombat. What's the newer games that you kids are into? Assassin's Creed. Is that the name? Did I get that right? I don't know what you guys are fucking playing, man. I can't even try, man. Back in the day, we played Pac-Man and Tetris. Now you guys are playing full throttle fucking war games. Fucking insane what they have these days, man. But I'm a type of person that can't sit down for an hour and do that. I never really have an hour. When I have a free hour, I talk this with you guys. I talk pro wrestling. But I never have time to play a fantasy. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fantasy guy. I like to do things in the world. I don't like to waste time in fantasy land. But you got to understand where the old guys are coming from. And the old guys have to just understand that, you know, the world changed. And so the locker room was obviously going to be in that domain. There was no way that the locker room was going to stay alpha filled while the world is getting softer. The world's getting softer. It is. That's not again, people hear that and they go, we're not soft. You are. You got softer, bro. The generations are getting softer. But, you know, real tough was back in the fucking 20s, 30s when you're struggling for everything. Before that, right? You could go on, man. I'm sure the first people in time would tell you what tough is. And now here, everybody has their laptops, their fucking tablets, their two phones, their big screen internet, the big screen TV, big screen computer, my bad. You know, now everybody has everything at their fingertips, bro. Back in the day, be lucky if you got a fucking black and white TV set, the big bulky ones that weigh 220 pounds. Now everybody's fucking got everything at their fingertips, and that's awesome. You know, the world has evolved and people don't have to stress as much. But human beings will always be depressed about something. Human beings will always be stressed about something. So even in today's times, people will find things to make them angry, frustrated, and stressed and depressed, right? They'll turn to politics. They can easily shut the news off, but they don't. They'll watch the news, and they'll just get frustrated, stressed, depressed, and pissed. I'm like, shut it off. You have the world at your feet. You could go for a run. You could conquer the world. And you choose to get yourself worked up for no reason. Watching the fucking news, politics, that you ain't gonna change shit. You're gonna try to run for a mayor, run for government. You're gonna try to do something to try to create change. Then go down that path. But you have to get off your ass, stop watching the TV, and start doing. No, people will either sit on their ass, watch the news, get worked up, and complain and bitch about shit they have no control over. At least when I complain and bitch, it's pro wrestling. I know the boys and gals in the locker rooms are listening. I know that word is getting back to the Tony Khans and the Kennedy McMahons. Whether they listen or not, that's another story. But I know at least we're being heard. You know, your government isn't hearing you. Shut the TV off. So we're always going to find things to stress us out anyway, whether the world gets soft or not, man, or softer. Anyway, that's my whole rant on the Undertaker saga, man. You have to look at it from his point of view. You know, he's not going to say, oh yeah, it's great nowadays. Everyone gets along so much better and we play video games and we talk about how to respectfully go on a date and not talking about sexual activities that we want to do with the girls because that's rude. You know what I mean? What the fuck? Are you out with the boys? Or are you at a fucking training seminar for how to be a better human? Stop it! Stop it! Let's get into this. Let me get a swig of coffee, then we'll get into it. Smackdown, January 22nd, 2021, kicks off with Roman Reigns starting the show with Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce, middle of the ring. Now, Roman cuts another great promo on Pearce, man. Roman is on all cylinders he's firing. I mean, this Roman Reigns, I say it every show, I sound like a broken fucking record, but Roman just gets better and better now, not just in that ring, but on the mic now. I told you, he captivates me now when he's just talking shit in the ring, but this dude now when he's on that mic, that confidence, that's the type of confidence you just can't fuck with. And Pearce responds to Roman in that promo that he cut on him. Pearce responds while also throwing some verbal shade to Paul Heyman. So Roman asks Paul Heyman if he's going to allow Pearce to disrespect him. So Heyman tells Pearce, and I quote, "I'm from New York. I will whoop your ass." I love that statement from Paul Heyman, man. This actually leads to a one-on-one fight between these two for later on in the main event. And then before we cut to our first break, Sami Zayn comes out and handcuffs himself to the barricade along the entranceway. And he's holding up a sign that says "Justice for Sami." Now, whether you like this opening 15-minute segment combined, the Roman Reigns, Adam Pearce, Paul Heyman, mixed with the Sammy Hagar. That's a fucking lead singer for Van Halen. Sami Zayn. Whether you like those two segments together in one 15-minute segment or not is secondary. The fact that it at least makes you a little curious is a huge step in the right direction for this company. The thought of Paul Heyman versus Adam Pearce is so absurd that you have to see what they have planned with these two. You have to check it out. And every single person that walks down that aisle and during this show, they're going to have to walk past a protesting Sami Zayn. That's kind of an interesting concept, right? Like, who's going to walk that? Who is Sami finally going to have that altercation with? That's what I mean about a little bit of a spark. Just a little bit. Get us thinking about the rest of the show. Far too many times, the show kicks off with nothing to be excited about for the rest of the show. Nothing at all. Right? You have a match that just starts the show, and you're like, okay, well, we're getting a wrestling match. That's great. It is a wrestling show. But what is this doing for the future? I mean, why are we sticking around for 2 hours or 3 hours? Or you have just a bland, boring, redundant promo segment, and it's like, all right, but why do we care about that? What is exciting for the future of the show? Right here, you're thinking Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman later? Yeah, I might want to check that out. You got Sami Zayn handcuffed to the fucking barricade for the entire show? Something's gonna happen with Zayn. Yeah, I might want to check this out. That's what I mean. When I say there needs to be a spark, they don't gotta move mountains every week. Little shit combined can help the show drastically. That was huge. First match of the night is a non-title women's tag match. Champions Asuka and Charlotte versus the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby. The match wasn't long at all, and that's because it was all for nothing more than getting Charlotte Flair another victory. Honestly, guys, I tell you this all the time, and I still get some people going, BC, you're just throwing shade at Charlotte. There's no shade. We love Ashley Flair. She's an amazing, beautiful sweetheart of a woman. And Charlotte Flair, the character, has so much talent. Ashley/Charlotte has so much talent. She's a good wrestler. The booking of Charlotte is atrocious. Here we are again. And Charlotte Flair pins Ruby Riott via natural selection. This helped too. I'm asking you if you think BC's just being mean. I'm just a mean YouTuber. You see, BC? He's a mean YouTuber. Well, if I'm me and I'm asking you, who does this help? This doesn't help Liv Morgan. This doesn't help Ruby Riott, right? They just got pinned in less than 5 minutes, probably 4 minutes. And this doesn't help Asuka. Asuka's a fucking champion, supposedly, and she has not been booked as a champion. She has been holding the hand of Lana for 2 months, and then when Vince heard that Charlotte was coming back, he kicked Lana to the side, and he had Charlotte Flair hold hands with Asuka for now the last month. And now Asuka gets no storylines, no nothing, and Charlotte gets a storyline with Lacey Evans. Charlotte's picking up the victory here, but not your champion. Asuka does not win this match. Charlotte wins it. Charlotte, Charlotte, Charlotte. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Now you're starting to now see, when BC puts facts together, now you're starting to see why this is just helping nobody in the division but one female. And it's the one female that is not connecting with a huge chunk of the audience. And they refuse to change it. The only change is they'll have her go face and heel 76 times already, like Big Show and like Kane. Or Braun Strowman by now. Charlotte Flair, you could put her right in that category. Face, heel. Every week, it's like she's something different. You never know what she is. In fact, when she left before that injury, she was a heel. When she came back, she was a face with Asuka. Then she kicks her legendary father away, and she's like a heel for a week. But then Lacey's the real heel, so now she's back to a face. You never know. Because her booking is all over the place. Because they're trying everything to make the fans connect with her. But she has to change at the core of the character. This shit is unacceptable. Why was Asuka not getting that pin and looking like a champion finally for the first time in months? Nope. Because you need to make Charlotte look like the top son of a bitch in the company. If you're Vincent Kennedy McMahon, if you're the old bastard in Stamford, it has to be Charlotte, Charlotte, Charlotte. And you can say I'm the mean YouTuber all you want, and you probably are correct, but I'm the mean YouTuber who comes shooting facts and rocking with truth. Time after time, review after review. D-Bry is out next hyping up the Royal Rumble. D-Bry's got a little fucking, does he have a suit jacket? I don't know what the fuck. D-Bry's dressed up like he's not ready to compete. He looks like he just came from a reception at a wedding. And D-Bry is hyping up the Royal Rumble. This is more proof that it just looks like they're going to have him win this thing. Even though he's on a little bit of a losing streak. He lost to Shinsuke Nakamura in less than 10 minutes, right after Nakamura just had 2 matches previous. So that made D-Bry look dumb as fuck. And then he lost to Cesaro a week later, which was last week, in less than 10 minutes. And it's amazing that you have such a big part of the community going, BC, go easy on him. He's doing some work with creative, and he decided to put them over. How respectful is that, BC? I don't hand out participation trophies. I'm a wrestling reviewer on this channel who, if you're coming here, you're going to get the truth. If you can't handle it, you got to go find somebody else. There's 110 other people trying to do what I do right now. They ain't going to hit my level, but they're trying to do it. Go watch them. I don't hand out participation trophies. This is a dude who's been in the mid-card for all of 2020. And so far in 2021, he's on a losing streak. And you're telling me that he's the dude that I'm supposed to be excited about when he wins the Rumble? I'm supposed to be excited for him versus Roman Reigns? When the guy is losing every week? Or for the past 2? This week, not even wrestling? But when he wins the Rumble, BC's supposed to go, see, this is amazing. This is fucking awesome. It's D-Bry, man. It's D-Bry. We love D-Bry, so we're going to force ourselves to be excited for this. I'm sorry, not sorry, if I want the person that's about to win the Rumble to look like a fucking winner going into the Rumble. If you want me to believe that he's the dude who's going to take out Roman at Mania, how am I supposed to forget that he couldn't even beat Shinsuke after Shinsuke had 2 matches previous? Right before Shinsuke beat one dude, beat another dude, then Daniel Bryan came out, and Daniel Bryan couldn't even go 10 minutes. And then the next week, he couldn't even go 10 minutes with Cesaro. But now he's the guy who's going to WrestleMania to take on Roman. And you don't see where I'm coming from? I'm the mean YouTuber because I'm calling this shit out? Because I'm not excited that he's putting people over right now? If he wants to do that before he retires, if 2021 is truly his last year or whatever, put over Cesaro 10 times. Put over Shinsuke 10 times. Put over Matt Riddle 25 times. or he's on Raw, whatever you want to do. You can go to Raw and put people over. I'm cool if he wants to put people over. Are you guys not understanding? It's before Daniel Bryan is supposedly supposed to win a Rumble and go to Mania in the main event. Now is not the time. It's not the time to put people over. Talking to some wrestling fans is like talking to a wall while watching paint dry. You're going to get nowhere. You're going to get nowhere. It's like watching a pot of water boil by just lighting a match under it. You'll get nowhere. This is what wrestling... There's been a little internal war. I see it in comment sections, on dirt sheets, and you name it. Every time somebody says Daniel Bryan's booking has been atrocious since 2020 into 2021, you have people trying to argue he's putting people over. Relax. This is amazing. He's putting people over. How is it not respectful, BC? Because now's not the time. He needs to look like a winner. How the fuck are we going to be excited when Daniel Bryan wins the Rumble? How? I'm going to look at it like he just got fucking mad lucky. And you want me to forget that he's losing these matches in just a couple of months when he goes to the Rumble? Come on, bro. You can forget that. I can't. And I'm glad I can't. Realism and logic and common sense, those are words in my vocabulary. Fuck you looking at? You look in my fucking direction? I'll give you a double take sometimes. A triple take? Now you done pissed me off. Anyway, moving on. Hour number 2 begins with Sasha Banks. That's right. The ultra beautiful, mega talented, super sexy Sasha Banks, man. Every time I see this gal, you just melt a little bit. You just melt a little bit inside. She takes on Carmella's gopher, Reginald. This match was like watching 2 ping pong balls crisscrossing each other for 5 minutes straight. Reginald was like a stealth ninja, and Sasha was in there looking like a luchador. Sasha taps Reggie out with the statement, and an even bigger statement issued to Carmella, who was witnessing it all firsthand while on commentary. So Sasha showed, hey, not only can I beat you, I can beat your fucking dude. Now, a lot of people got mixed feelings about this match. There was a lot of flips all over the place and not a lot of contact for a part of the match because Sasha would go for Reginald. Reginald would be like diving out of the way or even diving out of the ring. But there was a lot of good wrestling too within it, actually. They were rolling around there and really getting into it. So, all in all, I like this. I absolutely, I enjoyed this because I enjoy what Reginald can do. That was just a glimpse. So I think we're going to see a lot more awesome shit from Reginald going forward. I wish he didn't just tap out, though, because, again, I don't forget shit like that. So if you're going to make Reginald an actual wrestler, I'm going to remember when he just tapped out to Sasha. And you guys know I love Sasha, but I wouldn't have done that. But I like what I saw from Reginald. Sasha was in there. I always say Sasha Banks can have a great match with a vacuum cleaner. That's how good Sasha is. So I enjoyed this. It was something different. It was much different than the normal fucking redundant match that we see from 2 people, same match or tag team match that we see every fucking week for 4 weeks in a row, or just a Charlotte Flair 5-minute match. That's all for nothing just to get Charlotte a victory. This was different. I like that, and I like what I saw more than not liking what I saw, if that makes sense. So, mad props to Sasha and Reginald for getting creative. And I want to see more from this Reginald. And Sasha Banks firing on all cylinders. I can speak. I need another coffee. Sasha Banks not only looking beautiful, but she's got such beautiful talent in that ring. She's just, fuck, man. Goat. Next up, an IC title match. Big E versus Apollo Crews. This is a rematch, but I'm okay with it. I mean, these two are starting to find a little bit of a gel together. You know, they're starting to mesh. During this match, Sami Zayn uncuffs himself in the aisleway. He hits the ring, and he hits a helluva kick to Apollo and Big E. The match is instantly nullified, and clearly Zayn is still going to be cemented into the IC title picture. I see something like a triple threat probably happening at the Royal Rumble. I just hope they don't have this on the pre-show. You have to not only give these three... You have to give these three the respect, but you also have to make the title prestigious. The IC title match, especially a triple threat, even though I don't like schmazes, these three can bring it to the dance. You just got to give them the time of day, and you got to give them the respect and make that title prestigious. So, no kickoff show bullshit, and I will be okay for one night only to see this fucking triple threat. Alright, had to get another sip of coffee there, but we're back in action. We're gonna go Kevin Owens up next. He cuts a really good promo on Roman Reigns from his car. So, dude looked like BC Amplified cutting a Smackdown review before I'm about to hit the road. He was in his car like this cutting a promo. He talked about, his tattoos, now they all have meaning. He talked about the one on his hand, which is his grandparents. And he told some personal shit directed at Roman and how his grandparents were his role models and idols growing up. And they fought through a lot of battles. So what makes Roman think that he's just going to give up and not get back up at the Rumble? So, I mean, this was some solid shit by Kevin Owens. Really good to see, man. This is how you use Kevin Owens. Much better than a KO show. I'd rather ding dong, hello, than a KO show, because the KO show is not utilizing Kevin Owens in the right way. And that wouldn't be the last we've seen of Owens either. So this was a good start, and the way the show ended with Owens, even better. Up next was the Ultimate Obstacle Course Challenge, Bayley versus Bianca Belair. Now, they got to move a 400-pound tire. They have hurdles to get over. They have to take a basketball shot. They even had to fireman's carry Chad Gable. Gable was out there, and you had to pick him up, fireman's carry, and cross a certain line with Gable. So yeah, straight up, you're going to say Bianca's going to fucking whoop her, but we'll see what Bayley has. However, once Bayley was finished with the course, she had the entire course basically changed, so it would be harder for Bianca. So the hurdles actually got taller. Bayley had new hurdles put in. They were much taller. Bayley played defense on the basketball shot, which Bianca still fucking dunked over her. Fucking Air Michael over there. Air Jordan. Who, by the way, was one of my role models growing up, man. You guys have LeBron today. That's great. Back in my day, it was my boy Michael Jordan. Oh, man. This dude. You say the shit. He was the old-timer. He was the GOAT of GOATs. Man, oh man, I could spend an hour on Michael Jordan, dude. Sometimes I dream that he is me. You got to see that's how I dream to be. Bum, 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 bum. I dream I move. I dream I groove like Mike. If I could be like Mike, I wanna be like Mike. Like Mike. If I could be like Mike. Like Mike. That was a real song, man. I think it was Gatorade, or was it Nike? I thought it was Gatorade. They teamed up with Jordan, man, and they had a whole fucking Michael Jordan song. Google that shit. It's called Like Mike, or YouTube it, whatever the fuck. And that song was the shit, and that's what we grew up with, man. He was the GOAT. He came across your TV. Michael Jordan, dude. Anyway, what the hell got me on that? Oh, they were dunking out there, man. Bianca Belair. So yeah, Bayley had higher hurdles. She played defense. And when it came time for the fireman's carry on Gable, she had Gable exit. Otis came in. So now Bianca has to fireman's carry Otis, and she did that sumbitch. I know dudes that couldn't do that. And Bianca was like, get up here. And Bianca fucking took her right over, man, and across the line. And Bianca still, even with all the adversities, Bianca Belair still ended up winning with a better final time over Bayley. After Bianca was called as the winner, Bayley jumps her. This was not bad, and everybody played their role beautifully, I felt. It looked good. Bianca Belair looks like the true EST. I mean, even no matter how much you stack the deck against me, I'm going to show you I'm a better athlete. I am when I say the EST of everything. That's legit. Like, we can do this, and no matter what you put in front of me, I'm going to beat you. And Bayley jumping her after is playing up the heel character, the sore loser. Not just in a wrestling match, she's a sore loser in competition in general. You're not going to one-up me. And I don't care what people think about me. I'll be the sore loser, but I'm going to whoop your ass. You're not better than me. Everybody looked good here. It was an original way. I don't mind this, every week. If they did something like the Street Profits did with the Viking Raider Experience machine, every week they were either playing Frisbee or it was Battleship or Monopoly. That was too much, because I know that those two teams have talent, even with the Doughboy. Ford is exceptional. Doughboy, all right, we'll take him, I guess. If they just tone it down a little bit and stop playing the fucking just the ludicrous characters. I can't stand that. I like amplified. I don't like crazy for no reason. And I don't like saying the same word 1,000 times, like fam. Even what 100 times can get to you. Chill it on the fam, Doughboy. But I know that those teams have talent. You remember what they did in NXT, and then they're just playing fucking Red Rover, send Doughboy over. And it's like, come on, man. You can't do that. You can't play Ring Around the Rosie when they should be having wrestling matches. But if this is just 1 week and this is what Bianca and Bayley are doing to further whatever they got going on, I think it made everyone look pretty good. They all played their roles. Heel, face, EST, sore loser. Everything was played beautifully here. So, and by the way, Bianca can lose, when it comes to her wrestling attire, she can lose the pants. Because she's got legs! 4 days! Bianca, man, she's primo. I talk about Sasha being sexy. Bianca's sexy in her own way, too. It's two different kinds of sexy, Bianca's got the build. I mean, it's two sexies that man, when you get Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, and they're just within a half an hour of one another, that remote control is firmly down, and I am invested in that shit. Dominic versus King Corbin is next. Match was only 2 minutes long. Corbin defeats Dominic via end of days. What the fuck happened to Dominic, may I ask? This dude was beating Seth Rollins just a couple months ago. And now he can't hang 5 minutes with Karen Corbin. That's right, I call him Karen Corbin. I still think this leads to a Murphy return very soon. I mean, what happened with him and his new main squeeze, Aaliyah? Did they break up at the Olive Garden? Did they get Prego at a Holiday Inn? Did they go on vacation and get lost? Did they fall off a cliff? They just stopped the story. I wish they did this with Bobby Lashley and Rusev. And that never-ending BS storyline with Lana and Liv. Man, did that drag on. Here with Aaliyah and Dominic and Murphy and right, they just dropped that shit. They were just gone. Anyway, I still think this turns into a Murphy return because Rey Mysterio last week said, you want to get back at Corbin, I know just the guy. And they never went on with that. This week, Dominic's just having a match with Corbin. But I don't know what happened to Dominic. I don't know what happened to Murphy and Aaliyah. I don't know what happened to Dominic. Dominic is beating Seth Rollins. And now he can't even take out Karen Corbin in 2 minutes. And that's what I mean about booking indiscrepancies. I remember this stuff. The main event was Paul Heyman versus Adam Pearce. I just love the concept. I know we're not going to get a wrestling match. We're probably not even going to get a fight between the two. But it's just like when Vince McMahon took on Stone Cold, or at least that was announced. And you guys remember back in the Attitude Era, and Pat Patterson, and who was the other stooge? Briscoe. Gerald Briscoe. And they were teaching Vince how to wrestle. And just the thought of Stone Cold and Vince had you glued to that to the very end. And then they did some BS at the end. I think Mick Foley turned into Dude Love that night, if I'm correct. And Dude Love came out, and Mick Foley tells a funny story. He's like, everybody was hyped. It was Vince. It was Stone Cold. The wrestling world was glued to their TV sets. And he goes, I came out and ruined it all with the debut of Dude Love. I always love that story. But it doesn't matter. I mean, we're all glued to the concept. So the concept of Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce, I'm sure, had a lot of people glued. We'll see what the ratings say, man. I would be surprised if the ratings were really low, man, because Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce, I would think, would get people talking. But maybe not. But if you're an old school fan like BC, man, Paul Heyman and his whole body of work over the past several decades. And now he's in the ring. And if you know Adam Pearce, before this whole WWE official type stuff, you know, in an actual wrestling career, I mean, this just, it piques an actual wrestling fan's curiosity. So Heyman trips up the steps, clearly as part of a plan, and he informs Pearce, his exact words that Pearce said last week in the contract signing. You know what they say, cards subject to change. So Heyman was faking an injury just like Pearce did last week so he could get Owens into the Royal Rumble match with Roman Reigns. So I love this with Paul Heyman. So he says cards subject to change. And then Roman's music hits. I love this, man. Paul using Pearce's own words against him. Roman comes down and beats the how you doing out of Pearce. Beating him around the ring, takes him up the rampway, goes to put him up on the Thunderdome platform too, like he did to Kevin Owens when he chucked Owens off the platform. He was about to do that to Pearce. But Kevin Owens comes out of nowhere in a hoodie because he was supposed to be banned from the arena. Somehow, excuse me, somehow Roman Reigns got him barred from the arena for the night, but no, he comes out in a hoodie. Somehow, as Corey Graves said, he breached security, and Owens comes out of nowhere, and he levels Reigns with a stunner in the ring. So first he jumps him up at the staging area, takes him into the ring, and stunners him pretty quickly. And then he hits another stunner outside of the ring. That one was a badass one, because Roman ricocheted into the barricade. Many officials are trying to halt Owens' attack, but to no avail. In fact, Owens powerbombs Roman through the announce table to end SmackDown. This was such a refreshing KO to see. It reminds me of the ruthless Kevin Owens we once saw in NXT. And I'll go a step further, and even a touch of some old school Kevin Steen. If you guys remember Kevin Steen, this was that attitude that you want to see out of him. Not the KO show, or not even being utilized. This was old school Kevin Owens, even a little bit of Kevin Steen with that attitude. And dare I say, man, I have no problem with Roman taking this beating as long as this does not become a common occurrence. Roman is too badass. He is that chief right now. He shouldn't be taking beatings like this on the weekly or even the bi-weekly. But if it's once in a while, this was much needed. This did so much for Kevin Owens. We already saw Roman versus Kevin Owens a couple of times. We've already seen Kevin Owens lose to Roman a couple of times in a couple of different variations. Different matchups, different stipulations. What more do you need to see? This beating was refreshing to help make people care about the Royal Rumble match. It was definitely helping Kevin Owens and his character. And even for Roman, because now Roman Reigns, that tribal chief, who bases his character on that paranoia that everybody is disrespecting him. Why are you disrespecting me? Right? That's his whole character for Roman. Well, that's the ultimate disrespect. He beat the shit out of you, bro. If you think Roman is not going to be ultra pissed off now, Roman is going to be so diabolical. Roman is going to be so ruthless. Roman is going to try to end Owens now at the Rumble. And we still have one more show before the Rumble, so it's going to be interesting to see this pissed off tribal chief. Because he got rocked last night. So I like that, man. All in all, decent show, man. Hard pressed to say good, but some good elements. Some wacky shit. You got the Charlotte Flair bullshit. But I like that they put some care into the beginning. I like the ending, definitely. Some original shit in there with the females, man. You had the obstacle course, and you had, showcasing Bianca Belair finally. And you also have Sasha Banks in there. She's beating a dude in there. Whether you actually like the match or not, Sasha got something last night. That's about time. So, man, yeah, man. If the meter was here in the middle, this is bad and this is good, the meter was leaning into good. Let's continue that, man. Heading into the Rumble, and especially Mania season, which is only a few months away. So, we'll see, man. That was SmackDown. Now I gotta, I'm gonna put my cheese head back on, and I'm gonna go into Starbucks with my cheese head, and I'm gonna rock that shit, and maybe I'll piss some people off that are Buccaneer fans, or maybe their team isn't. Hey, if your team's not in it, do me a favor, support my Packers. If your team is not in it, and you gotta root for one out of the 4 teams this weekend, Go for my Packers, man. Help BC out, help my Packers. We could use the support, we could use the love. So I would appreciate that. But yeah, man, I always love, I always tell the story. I grew up in New England. I wasn't originally from New York. And Super Bowl 31, I was very young, obviously. We took on the New England Patriots. Now, in New England, they take their football very seriously, as did I. I was just a Packer fan. But you were a Patriot fan. You were a Red Sox fan. You were diehard to the core. So, back in the day, I had to walk to junior high. I was close to the set of projects that I lived in. Yeah, I came from I have no problem saying that, man. We didn't have money growing up. I came from projects. I used to have tickets to get school lunch. My family couldn't afford school lunch for us, so I had to get a free lunch ticket. So everybody would look at me like, oh, he's the poor kid. But nah. I was always popular. I always had the friends. I always had the girls. So it was all good. We just didn't have a lot of money. So the projects that we had was right next to the junior high. So we would walk. I walked with my cheese head on. My cheese head was on in New England, a small New England town. And I'm walking down the fucking street. I'm a kid. I'm a fucking kid. I got cars beeping and flipping me off. People yelling at me. Grown-ups. They took that shit seriously, man. So I brought it into school, and everyone had fun with it, at least in school. I actually had teachers telling me when they heard about it to have me go to my locker and get it. And I would bring it into because back then, cheeseheads were not common in New England. The cheesehead was just really coming out. If you had a cheesehead, that was something else, man. And I think that was like my one Christmas present that I wanted. And I think that was like the one Christmas I got that, maybe some fucking socks and some underwear. Who knows? You know, again, we didn't have a lot of money. So the fact that I got a cheesehead from Wisconsin, that was the good, that's like a kid getting a gaming console today. Like if you were to get the new PlayStation, when I got the cheesehead, that was basically that. And, so yeah, man, they would have me go to my locker and I would show it to everybody and they were like, wow, a real cheesehead. Because before that, you only saw it on TV unless you were from Wisconsin or you had it ordered to your town. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of Packer fans, man. There just wasn't. Now you start to see these jerseys a bit more, which is so cool. You start to see the Packers and the G logos a lot more. You know, and those yellow helmets. And the green jerseys, man. It's so cool to see now. Back in the day when I was younger, man, you didn't see it. So to say that BC was one of a kind, and I wasn't afraid to do what I did and put that cheesehead on and go down to New England town, I didn't give a shit, man. I took a lot of hate. I took a lot of fingers. Maybe some people threw some shit at me, especially on the way home because it was later in the afternoon. I walked back with it on too, and that's when I think people were throwing shit. But I never minded the hate, man. You can bring that shit. That shit bounces. That ricochets right off me, but I thrive. I get amplified on the hate. So I sported it even more proudly. The delts put out even more. The chest was out even more. I'm like, that's right. Go, Pack, go. And if you're wondering, that year, the Green Bay Packers defeated the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 31, 35-21. And Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers got their Super Bowl ring and Super Bowl Lombardi trophy. Pretty cool, right? And then Super Bowl 45, 14 years later, we did it again, man. Super Bowl 45, we defeated the Steelers, and that was our last Super Bowl. And we have not won. That was, 10 years ago, I want to say, 2011. And then I was in New York. So I was wearing my cheesehead around New York. And there I got a lot much more respect, though. Even though they're diehard Giants fans, some Jets fans. A lot of Giants, though, at least in Manhattan. But, wow, man. Would you get... You would get people stopping you and wanting to take pictures and shit. You know, that they respect football there, at least. They respect the fact that I had a cheesehead. So, New England is just very volatile, you know, and I say that with respect. I mean, that's my homeland. I love New England, but it's rough. Like, people think you go to Yankee Stadium and it's going to be a lot of fights and a lot of disrespectful people and just drunks. And no, Yankee Stadium is beautiful, man. Everyone gets along for you go to the Red Sox, man. You go to Fenway. I got more fights at Fenway than I've never even gotten to one, knock on wood, at Yankee Stadium. We all get along. Even if you're from the other team, we just have fun. We'll fuck with you a little, but it's fun. New England, you're fighting, man. Everyone's just drunk Irish people, and we're all just brawling. And I'm like, fuck, man. This isn't a good environment. Just picture a whole region of like Mark Wahlbergs and BC Amplifieds mixed in with some like John Cena's, and that's basically New England. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning into this, probably a fucking hour, better part of an hour by now, of a review. We talked SmackDown, but we also talked the Undertaker situation for quite a bit. We talked about some sports. We just shot the shit, man. Always good to catch up with you guys. Much love and respect. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and we'll talk again. We'll see what the Packers do tomorrow. Hopefully they win this championship game and we can go to the Super Bowl. If not, I will be devastated. I will be ramming my dome piece through a cement wall. And then we'll see what Raw gives us on Monday, and we'll talk hopefully Tuesday morning. I would love to do it live, but with all the traveling, you never quite know. But until then, keep whooping that ass. Think, be, live, amplified always. And for now, check your leader. Go, Pack, go!